As we come to the close of the story tour, I think it's time to reflect. Mr. Khare, can I ask you a few questions, please?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
What has drawn you to the world of folklore?
See, I've always felt that I've been stranded, or let's say suspended like a trapeze artist between worlds, between cultures. And this has gone very deeply back to my own family background, which comes from 4 different cultures in the world: Irish, Spanish, English, and Indian. So within me, there's always been a search for something that will transcend these 4 different cultures. And in my personal search, when I was still a teenager, I discovered that world which went beyond these 4 worlds of mine was the folkloric world. And I grew up as a young man in a family that traveled a lot, that moved around a lot, that lived a lot in rural parts of the country, in urban parts of the country, and I was exposed to a wide range of cultures in our country. And it is really through that I began to be attracted to and search for, those sort of very simple common roots that we all draw our cultures from, and went back to that. And it is in that going back that I discovered very interesting people, very spontaneous people, very simple people. And these people were from traditional communities. They could be either Bhel or Bhelala or Toda or Irula or Kurumba or Katkari, all of the communities around our country. And I found in my interaction with them a sort of an immediate sense of identification. I don't know why that was so, and it wasn't forced, mind you. Immediate sense of identification that, here was something that I responded to right from my belly, right from within me. It had nothing to do with my cultural background or roots or anything like that. And it is through that I made a lot of friends. And these friends were of all age groups. In fact, predominantly, of course, they were old people. And old people have always figured a lot in my life and in the whatever little wisdom I picked up from the folkloric world. And it is through them that I managed to listen to stories around the fireplace, listen to stories under the stars, listen to the stories in places of absolute desolation, whether it was the great run of Kutch, or it was the jungle of the Downs, or the mountains of the Nilgiris. It was absorbing. And it is that which drew me to the world of folklore, to try to find connections between all of these various cultures, those connections that could help me become a more integrated human being. So, does that answer your question?
Sure it does.
Yeah.
So, what place has folklore in our world today?
Well, that's not a trick question, and I think I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And I feel that folklore, of whichever culture you look at, however so-called primitive the culture may be, folklore gives to us or brings to us a very, very simple articulation of truth, a simple articulation of belief, a simple articulation of emotional feelings, a simple articulation of relationships, a simple sense of trust in the unknown that goes beyond us. You know, we live in a world today where we are questioning the existence of God, the existence of spirits and Almighty, and all of this. We're constantly asking ourselves these questions. And I suppose the technological world has removed us further and further away, not just from our, from nature, but removed us from ourselves. So we live constantly in the sense of duality. This is our real self, our human self, our feeling self, a self made of blood and guts and lungs and heart and memory and everything, and the intellectual, the developed self, the self of technology, the self which is striving to achieve something. And because of this split in us, I feel a lot of us aren't really spontaneous anymore. This is a very, very sweeping observation I'm making, but I really believe that we, as the years go by, we are becoming increasingly disintegrated. And I think folklore and the sharing of folklore from various cultures, not only our own country, but cultures from all over the world, the sharing of folklore reignites, to a great extent, reignites that feeling of integration, that feeling of being human, that feeling of trusting and being in relationships, of loving, of losing, of becoming whole. And that's what I think we must hold on to. That's why I think folklore has a very, very important place in our world, in our lives today. I'm sorry I'm getting so emotional about all of this, but you see, we need to sometimes drop our guard, we need to become human, we need to become vulnerable. And folklore helps us to be vulnerable.
So, having said that, what do you think you want to achieve through this storytelling tour?
Oh, the storytelling tour, if you ask me, is like just like opening a little door and saying, welcome in to the world of all the stories I've been collecting, welcoming to the amazing possibilities that connect all of us.
Mr. Khare, you've traveled into remote areas in the country collecting stories and song poems from traditional communities. Can you share any one unforgettable experience of your travels?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of them, but one which will always remain for me. It's the first time I met the master storyteller, the Badua, who is actually like a spiritual leader of the Bhilala community. And he lived in a little village called Jhinjhini. This is in western Madhya Pradesh. And I was in the process of collecting stories. And I had collected the story about the Bhil story and Bhilala story of how the world was created. How the earth was created from water. So I was searching for someone who would verify if the story was correct. And I was taken to Buna Baba. He was a small man with a lot of beads, and he had, very, very messy hair. He had a sort of bandana, but he had the most beatific smile I had ever seen in any human being. It is a big, broad, welcoming smile. And he sat there on his khatia. It was early evening. And he says, "Yes, beta, what do you want?" This is years ago. I'm talking about 1986. And he said, "Yes, beta, what do you want?" And I said, "See, Baba, I've got this story, and is it the right story?" And he said, "Yeah, tell me the story." So I began telling him the story, and he said, wait a minute, that's wrong, or this is right, and maybe you should add that. But everyone has their own way of telling a story. You can take the story and tell it your way. And while we were talking, a band of guys came. Now this is actually a very, very violent area, violent section of the Bhilala community. They came with bows and arrows, and they said, "Where is Mangalia?" Obviously, they were searching for this guy by the name of Mangalia, and they were probably going to shoot him. Some feud. So the Baba, without, flinching, Mangalia. Oh, he just went this way. Where did he go? They asked. Just, that khud over there. He went over the khud beside that tar tree, and he's gone there. Go and catch him before he goes too far. So they rushed off. He said, "Saab, that was the first truth." Then he said, "Oh, let's go back to your story." And he began to talk about how the story can be reorganized. Suddenly another band of guys came, and they looked more deadly. One fellow had a spear also. And they said, oh, we are Mangaliya's brothers, and we believe someone is looking for him to harm him. Where are they? He said, oh, yes, I know where they've gone. You go that way. You cross the road, and the road slopes down to that small river. They've gone that way. And then he told me, Saab, that is the second truth. And he carried on with the story. After a while, 2 cops came on motorbikes. Ah, Ram Ram, Baba, Ram Ram. So Baba said, Ram Ram. And he said, Are, he asked them, they were fellows with bows and arrows, and where have they gone? Yes. He said, South, didn't they go that way on the road to Baroda? So I said, yeah, they went that way. I got into the spirit of it all. That way, I said. Which way? I said, down that way. How long ago? I said, about 6-7 minutes ago. And they belted off. They had, the shotguns on their shoulders. They were all ready for action. They went belting down. He said, Saab, that's the third truth. Now let's get on with the story. Now, here was pure folk wisdom. I spent 3 days and nights with the Baba after that, and in the night we would lie on a khatia, his head towards my head, on our respective khatias, and we'd be looking up at this beautiful blue, dark, deep blue sky, and he'd be telling me stories. Now, I don't think any university, any college, any relative, parent, mother, father, grandfather, grandmother ever taught me so much. I owe it to him, his son who is Nathu Baba, and so many other Badua storytellers to be able to have led me on. And even at night sometimes I think of this amazing time I had looking up at the stars and him telling me stories about, you see those 4 stars and that tail? He said, yeah, actually that tail is 3 thieves and they're dragging away the wealth of a house on the khatia. So, for me, therefore, in all of this, that memory stands out. And always, in very, up till very recently, I used to go every couple of years, go to Bhuna Baba's home, though he's not with us anymore, nor is his son, but their memorial stones are there. And it's very, very beautiful. And they picture him with a gun, of all things. I mean, he never ever fired a gun. But that is a sign of the pride everyone had in a person like Bhuna Baba.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khare. Thank you for sharing your enriching experience.